Yo, what's good, everyone? Welcome to another episode here on the Inner Wealth channel. Today, this video kicks off a very important playlist, and I believe this is where most individuals will find their foundation to smart money concepts. So today, as you guys can see displayed on the screen, we're going to be diving into the basics of market structure. So again, this is going to be a new playlist that I'm going to be developing, all about the ABCs of smart money concepts. And of course, to me, the most important top thing to learn and understand when analyzing a chart is structure, to understand your directional bias for today, for the week, for the month, for the year. This information will build the foundation and to your understanding when you're diving into a chart. It's all about breaking everything down from a top-down analysis, and it all begins with market structure. So what you guys were going to be viewing today is actually a recording that I have made, I want to say early 2021. Maybe, I think late 2021, actually, about a year ago. And so you guys will obviously notice that with the quality of the sound as well. And so, yeah, what's really cool is that regardless how long ago this video was created and recorded, it's still very much relevant today. So the breakdown of this video was on a crypto call. And so I went into basic market structure understanding, and we did this for our team. And I know that it will also be very much helpful to you guys. So with that, guys, if you guys have any questions, comments, or observations, do not hesitate to drop it down in the chat. And as well, if you guys have any breakthroughs through this call, do not hesitate to share it with someone who may find this information helpful. Let's build a great foundation to our understanding. Let's build a great foundation to our journey. And with that, guys, let's run it.
So just an FYI, all right? So now when you look at a chart, when you, for example, are analyzing or want to know about Bitcoin, okay? And just like in any chart, you will find yourself a series of higher highs and higher lows, okay? Whether you're looking at a candle chart or whether you're looking at a line chart, this applies to both, okay? So just for basic structure, okay, higher highs and higher lows are a series of market data that are creating higher price action as time, right? As time goes by, we're creating higher price action, right? We're creating higher highs that come above previous highs, okay? And we're creating higher lows and lower price action that's respecting previous price action, that's respecting previous lows, okay? So in the market, there's two types of market that you're going to be dealing with. You're either going to be in a bearish market environment, creating a series of lower lows and lower highs. This is where price action creates a new low, right? A lower low that's lower than the previous one, and a lower high that's going to respect the previous high and create a lower high than the previous high, okay? When you're seeing lower lows and lower highs, lows that create a new low, a lower price, you are in a bearish environment, okay? And vice versa, like we were viewing on the bullish environment, when you're creating a series of higher highs that go above the previous high, right? You are in a bullish environment, okay? In a bullish environment, the lows are respected and the highs are the ones that create newer price action, right? Because you want higher price action, you're in a higher price action, and then the lows respect the previous lows, creating these low of the day that will then create new highs because they've respected the previous lows, right? That's how you will understand that you're in a bullish market. Okay, so hopefully that's all making sense so far. And let me, if you guys have any questions, all right, drop it in the chat. I want to make sure that everybody is following through. Now, for all of you who are a little bit more experienced, just know that, you know, we're gonna hit every single group here from beginning all the way to more advanced. All right, so how to gather data within your cryptos. All right, so just hang on with me, stay with me, and right, ask any questions that you guys may have. Okay, now for structure, do we have any questions? Right, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. Okay, as you guys can see here, we're about to break down Bitcoin. All right, and so when you're breaking down a chart, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to set the timing of the chart. When you view a data, it's going to be dependent on the time frame that you're on. Okay, for most exchanges, as you guys open up the app, most exchanges will be listing the daily time frame data. Okay, but for doing a top-down analysis on an asset, to do a top-down analysis on an asset, I personally like to start on a monthly perspective. Okay, whenever I am breaking down a brand new asset and I'm new to it, I don't know much about it, me personally, I'm going to break it down, okay, from the monthly perspective or from the monthly time frame all the way down to the 1 hour and the lower time frames, and I'll show you guys how I do so. All right, so as you guys can see here, I want to make sure you guys can see my screen. Okay, we start the opening price here, right, with a high that then creates this low right here. Right, we create this lower low. Now this low pushes up higher than the previous high, creating a higher high. Then we create what's a higher low. Okay, then we push up higher and create a higher high that then respects the previous low, right, and creates a new low that respects the previous low. Okay, so I want you guys to really make sense out of this. All right, make sure that you guys can see this: high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Okay, then this very low right here, okay, pushes price higher and creates this higher high that comes above the previous high. Okay, so now your trading range, okay, your trading range is based from this low, okay, to this high. Until this low is taken out, price action will remain bullish on a monthly time frame. Until a new low is created that will push and create a new high, right? This is the low that holds that bullish price action. But as you guys can see, after we created a new higher high, we pushed down lower and created this low, right? We made it what's called a retracement in the market. Okay, this is what you call a retracement in the market. When a retracement in the market happens, you can most certainly, you will always hear about these individuals when the market has a bearish, you know, any market is going to have a series of higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. Now you're going to be able to capitalize from these. You're going to be able to capitalize from these movements if you withstand the retracements. Okay, most people, their biggest issue is that when they hear about Bitcoin, everybody was hearing about Bitcoin in 2021, at the beginning of 2021, when we hit a new all-time high of 58,000, right? And how many people did you hear that were buying in at this time, right? Those same people that bought high were the same ones that when they had a huge retracement, a huge correction, were selling out at the low at $38,000, right? And to be able to capitalize on a field like this, you have to be able to withstand the down days and stick around for the up days, because eventually price action, a bullish market will create a new higher high, right? And so the point here, guys, this is the real meaning of buying low and selling high, right? It's not falling victim to these extra unnecessary transactions because of a fearful retracement, right? Every For every high, there will be created a new low. And I want you guys all to write that down. For every high, there will be a low. Okay? For every low, there will be a new high. So we're not, everybody in this group now that knows that and understands that, I want you guys to avoid as much as you can to selling when you're low. You want to sell in the market once the market has created a new high. Right? Does that all make sense so far? Drop some sevens in the chat if that makes sense so far. Perfect, perfect. Okay, so now, once you've analyzed where you're at on a monthly perspective, as you can tell, this monthly is at a higher high, okay? Because this high created this new high above this one. So the monthly perspective is at a high, but we can overall say that the monthly perspective, the 1 month, right, is bullish. Okay? The monthly is bullish. Now we're going to drop down to the weekly, and now you're going to, when you drop down a time frame, this is for any asset. When you drop down a time frame, you're going to see more data. Okay, you're going to see data more in detail, right? And so as you can see, the same price action that was the monthly, the higher high, higher low, higher high, you're going to see on a weekly perspective with a lot more detail. Okay, when you drop one time frame, you're going to see everything in a greater detail. So as you guys can see, on a weekly perspective, we created a new higher high, higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, and a higher high that then broke that previous low. This is an example of what we call a break of structure. When you identify a break of structure, okay, you can anticipate some bearish price action, right? Depending on what side we're breaking down to. For this instance, we're breaking to the bearish side, meaning that we're breaking to the downside because we disrespected the previous low. Remember, in a bullish price action, every previous low is respected by a new low. And in this instance, this low right here was disrespected by this low right here. So now we're now in a bearish market. We now created what's called a lower low. Lower low, that creates a lower high, right? That creates a new lower low. As you guys can see, once we broke structure, we created a lower low, lower high, that then pushed down and created this lower low, which on a monthly perspective, again, was just a higher low, okay? So now you can see that on a weekly perspective, we created a lower low, lower high, lower low, and then what happened right here? Drop it in the chat if you know what happened right there. What do we call this? If we're bearish and the high gets disrespected, what happens to structure then? Yes, exactly. That's a break of structure. Perfect. Okay. That's a break of structure, what we would call a break of structure that then creates this new high. Okay. Now, I know that you guys see this low right here, this low right here, this low right here, right? Why isn't it bearish right there? Okay. What I want you guys to see is that this is the low that created this high right here. And so this is the high and this is your low. Until this low gets disrespected, we're bullish. Okay, and until this high creates a new high, until we create a new high above this high, okay, we're stuck between this low right here, this high, right? And until we cross either lower than this or create a new high past this, we're going to be what's called ranging within this high and this low. Okay, so structure has to show more detail for you to know where we're going. Right now, on a weekly perspective, we were lower low, lower high, lower low, broke structure to the upside, created a new higher high, created a higher low. And remember, the monthly is higher high, higher low, higher high. So now your weekly perspective is lining up with your monthly perspective, right? Creating a higher high, right? A higher high, higher low, higher high, and then we broke structure again, but now we broke structure above these highs right here. Okay, so we broke structure on a weekly perspective at a monthly higher high. Okay, so now if the weekly broke structure, what can we anticipate will happen? Do you guys will anticipate continuation to the upside? Or because we broke structure bearish, do you guys expect a lower high and then a lower low? Drop some sevens if you guys will expect a new high. Drop some eights if you guys will expect a new lower low, some lower price action. I just want to see, you want to make sure that you guys are understanding. Drop some sevens for bullish, more bullish price action. Drop some eights for some bearish price action to the downside. Okay, Selena, Joshua, cool. Perfect. Thank you guys. Yep. Eights. Perfect. Everybody that said eight, if you were wondering, if it was 8 or 7, it is an 8. Okay, because we're now broke structure right here to the downside, we are now bearish. Okay, so on a weekly perspective, we're bearish. On a monthly perspective, we're still bullish. We're just at a high. So what comes after a high on a monthly perspective? What comes after a high on any time frame? After you, for every high, there's a what? It was at the beginning of the call. Made you guys write it down, right? Hope you guys wrote this one down. For every high, there is a what? Drop it in the chat. For every high, there is a low. Exactly. For every high, you shall get a low. So even though on a monthly perspective, we're bullish, we now need to get this retracement that will create this new higher low, that will respect the previous low, that then will create a new high. For every high, right? In other words, for every all-time high, we will get a low, right? For every time we create a new high, we will get a low. And that is something that you need to be expecting, that we as investors need to expect. Okay, as an investor, you want to acknowledge the fact that not every day is going to be an up day. Right? But it's all about being up even on the down days. All right, so let's break this down right here. Now, on a daily perspective, the weekly is bearish, right? The monthly is bullish, the weekly is bearish. Now let's break it down to on a daily time frame. Okay, remember, this is that weekly break of structure. Okay, this is that weekly break of structure right there. We're gonna label this one as the weekly BOS. BOS, for those of you who don't know, BOS stands for break of structure. Okay, so for every higher high, weekly higher high, we'll get a higher low, and then a higher high, and then you get your weekly break. But notice now that we're in a lower time frame, we can see everything with greater data. Okay, now I want you guys to write this down for all my new people. All right, for all my new people, write this one down. All right, the higher the time frame, the stronger the structure. The lower the time frame, the lower the strength of the structure. Okay, so meaning that if the monthly is bullish, but the daily, weekly is bearish, you need to understand that the monthly perspective is going to overpower both the weekly and the daily, because the monthly perspective is bigger and therefore stronger than the lower time frames. Okay, so it goes in strength. The higher the time frame, the stronger the structure that will be maintained, right? So as you guys can see here, now in greater detail, we got a higher high, right? We got this previous high right here, this higher low right here, that low that got respected right there, and then we created this high right here, created a new low right here. Okay, so we get right here, I'll show you guys a higher high, and then we break structure on a daily time frame as well. Before we even broke the weekly, the daily was already telling us that there was going to be weakness introduced into the market. Okay, here's your first signs of weakness into the market, showing you that after we created a new all-time high, weakness was going to be introduced into the market. This is how you're able to anticipate retracements, right? If you were looking to buy Bitcoin and found yourself at a new all-time high with weakness introduced into the market, you would understand and maybe be a little bit more cautious, okay? More cautious about investing at this time, right? Because the weakness has now been introduced into the market, okay? Now this low managed to push above and create a new higher high, okay? But the weakness into the market was introduced regardless, right? Because after we get a high, we must get a low, right? So now on a weekly and daily perspective, we get a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and lower high. So as you can tell, Bitcoin is walking price action down. Okay. Any questions on that so far? If this is all making sense, drop some sevens in the chat. Drop some sevens in the chat for me if this is all making sense. If you guys are able to see structure a little bit more clear today. Perfect, perfect. All right. Perfect, guys. Okay. So now when it comes to looking at a new coin, okay, because obviously Bitcoin is at $56,000 right now, right? And so there's ability to capitalize on Bitcoin, right? There's an ability to capitalize on any token as long as you're in the correct side of the market, right? And don't find yourself buying at an all-time high, right? Because now you understand that for every high, you will get a low. Meaning that the price, okay, and I want you guys to write this down in big capital letters. Price never leaves without me. And affirm that to yourself. Price never leaves without you. Because for every high, you will get a low. And when it comes to cryptos, guys, and I hear this all the time, is it too late? Guys, it's not too late. We are in the very, very early stages of this digital era. Very, very early stages of this digital era. So now we're going to show you guys how to read price action on a chart that maybe doesn't have that much more data, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been around for quite some time now, right? And so what I want you guys to acknowledge is that we can apply this information on any price action, whether it's a newer coin, whether it's an older coin, right? It doesn't matter. You guys can apply these same concepts on any asset. All right. So now let's go over, right? Let's go over to a pair that doesn't have as much data. All right. So I'm going to pick Crow. All right. I'm going to pick Crow and I'm going to break down Crow. Crypto.com. For those of you who don't know, Crow is Crypto.com. All right. It is Crypto.com is an exchange. Okay. Crypto.com is an exchange One sec, let me mute everybody. Okay, Crypto.com is an exchange, right, where you can exchange different cryptos on this platform, and they have their very own token. Who here watches UFC? I'm sure you guys know someone. If you don't watch, all right, my bad. I was muted for a little bit. All right, so Crypto.com, all right, is an exchange where we trade different where we buy and purchase different coins. Okay, this exchange created their own token. Okay, this exchange created their own token. All right, now their token. Who's heard of Crypto.com? All right, if you've seen the UFC, if you've seen any UFC fights this year alone, the year 2021, there's one main sponsor that's on every single fight, and it's Crypto.com. Okay, Crypto.com is one of the main sponsors for UFC. Okay, making it a project that's highly marketed, right? It's UFC markets itself, right? The hype of UFC, of fights, of mixed martial arts sponsors itself, markets itself. And so Crypto.com, being one of the main sponsors of this sport, okay, being one of the main sponsors of this sport, makes me have really high beliefs in Crypto.com. Okay, so now reading the price action here, let's look at it. Let's look at Crow. On a monthly perspective, you guys can see that we got a high, a higher low, right? A higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, and a tremendous higher high. So we can assume with certainty that Crow, okay, that Crypto.com token, Crow, is bullish on a monthly perspective. Now, on a weekly perspective, again, you're going to see a lot more data on a weekly perspective. Okay, and so here's where we're going to start getting a little bit more intricate with our entries and getting a little bit more confirmations when it comes to our entries. All right, so I hope you guys are ready and taking notes. So when you're looking at a token, all right, for me, I always break it down from the monthly perspective, and I like to if there's enough data for the monthly perspective, I will break it down from the monthly. Not every token has enough data for you to break it down from the monthly. For example, like I'll go to one that's a little bit newer data, and you can see that Sand, or let's go to Gala. Okay, there's only one direction that Gala went on a monthly perspective, right? Only one direction that Gala went on a monthly perspective, because there's not that much data for this token on this platform. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no data previous to this. That just means that TradingView did not have access to that data till November of 2021. I mean, September of 2021. Okay, that's as far back as the data feed goes on this token. All right, on this platform. So if I can break it down from a monthly perspective, I will break it down from a monthly perspective. If not, I will always shoot to break it down from the highest time frame available to me with the clearest amount of data. If there's enough data, like on Crow.com, to go off the monthly, that's where I go off. Now, you guys will either view charts on either a line chart like we've been viewing now, or a what's called a candlestick chart. Okay, a candlestick chart is what you guys see here, right? The candlesticks, the difference between a line chart and the candlesticks show you the high and the low of price action, as to see how this is the high right here of this candle right here, but on a line chart, that high is non-existent. So that's the difference between a line chart and a candle chart. With a candle chart, you are able to see a little bit more data and get even more intricate with your entries. Okay, so now what I do when I invest, okay, is I'll mark out my highs. Okay, whenever there's a high a new high that was created, what I like to do is mark out my highs. For example, this is that previous higher high that pushed down, created this low, and created a new higher high. Okay, so now I like to use these levels, and I call these levels support and resistance levels. Okay, write these down. Support and resistance levels are are levels in the market. Okay, are price levels in the market, specific price levels in the market in which price action struggle to get past. Okay, specific price action levels in the market in which price action struggles to get past or has a hard time going past. As you guys can see, market went up here once, rejected, went up here twice, rejected, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and was not able to close above this level. Okay, so that is going to be my new resistance level. Now notice that when we create a new higher high, and this is sometimes, not always, okay, you can see that when we created a new higher high, we came back down to our resistance level and then created a new higher high. Okay, these resistance levels you can utilize as confirmations for your entries. Okay, I'm not saying go super fat as soon as it touches one of these lines, because it's going to reject and go the opposite direction. Okay, but the higher the time frame, just like on the structure, the higher the time frame, the stronger the support or resistance level. Okay, the higher the time frame, the stronger the support and resistance level. Now let's break this down. Let's put all our monthly perspective, all our monthly new previous highs as orange. Okay, and now we'll drop it down to the weekly, and we're going to go down here and go off the weekly perspective. Okay, the weekly perspective, as you guys can see, created a higher high, a higher low, a higher high. Okay, and until we created this new low right here, we created this lower low, lower high, lower low, right? Here's where we broke structure to the downside, and then we created this lower low, lower high, right? Lower low, and then we broke once more right here. And now, except this time we broke bullish. Okay, so now what are we going to do here? I'm going to put a red support and resistance level for my representing my daily time frame. Okay, notice that when we created a new higher high, created a new higher low, that resistance level, that daily resistance level was tested. Okay, so that is a form of an entry. That could be a confirmation for your entry. Notice how we come back and test those levels. Now we created a new weekly higher high, a new daily higher high. Therefore, I'm going to mark that out as my daily higher high, as the red one. Okay, and you guys can see that we created a new daily high, a new daily higher high up here, right? And then when we came down, what did we do, guys? When we came down, right, we came right back down to that resistance level, not only our daily resistance, but also our weekly resistance level. Okay, and because of that, we were able to then create a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, and then we broke structure on the daily to the upside once more. So check it out. We come back, test our resistance, our support and resistance level, and then break structure right here once more. So we're going to go ahead and drop an arrow right there. Oh, I didn't even draw an arrow. 1 second. Right there. And notice, what did we do? Create a lower low, right? That broke structure to the upside, created a higher high. And look what we came right back down to. Both of our previous daily resistance level and our new daily resistance level right here, along with confirming that our weekly resistance level was valid as well. After we get this price action, we start moving to the upside again. So we've got one entry right here. Okay. Another entry right here. Okay. Now, one thing that you guys got to see is we created a new high right here. Okay. A new daily high that then pushes above, creates a new higher high, right? That then pushes down lower, it creates a new lower low. And what do we come right back down to and revisit? Is our resistance level, our daily resistance level, meaning here's your now third entry. Remember, the higher the time frame, the higher your resistance, right? As you guys can see, we then created some more higher price action, right? We struggled to get past this weekly resistance level. We created a higher high, a higher low, a higher high. That then all we did was come back and test, right? Created a higher high, higher low, a higher high. And then what we come back and test? Our weekly resistance level for a final entry. Now, if you would have invested into any of these entries, okay, earlier this year, our first entries down here